Oh, there we go. Oh, welcome Kickstarter. Welcome YouTube and Facebook audiences. We are live on 3 platforms today. How exciting is that? Um, I wanted to take a minute today to talk about the importance of the name Fetish Babies and why we went with it, and just go over the whole thing because it's, whether I wanted to or not, it has stirred some controversy. And controversy that's not understood is, in my mind, bad controversy. So I wanted to clarify exactly why the name was chosen. So I'm the head writer and the creator of Fetish Babies, co-creator, I should say. I apologize, co-creator of Fetish Babies. But the term Fetish Babies was something that I had written. That comes from me. That comes from my mind. And I can tell you as the writer why I did it. It was meant as an insult to one of the characters. One character to another calls them a fetish baby. My referencing was to pick on the maturity and then the inability to understand what that character was doing. I thought we had talked about that a lot in the first Kickstarter for Fetish Babies. I thought we had gone over it and we had explained it. We even went as far as to actually change our logo. Originally, our logo was building blocks, the kids' building blocks. But we were told in early testing that people had a problem with it, so we changed that. But changing the name became something that we just didn't feel right about. And the reason we didn't feel right about it is that it fits the story so well. So I wanted to take a minute and go over words and their meaning and why Fetish Babies isn't a horrible name. And at the very end, I'll give you guys a little reveal about the name itself. So let's start off with what the name is. So taking literally, Fetish Babies itself still starts with fetish and goes to babies. So the one confusion I always understand is when people think of it as infantilism or age play. I forget, it's infantilism or something like that. There's a term for it where people dress up like babies and stuff, and that's not what Fetish Babies is about. That kind of made sense. When people talk about it being about babies, it's insulting to me. Now, here's a couple of reasons why it's insulting, and let's just start off at the top. Okay? Has anyone ever heard the term Star Wars in their lifetime and thought, well, if it's Star Wars, then it's probably celebrity deathmatch? Is that what people are thinking, that stars are attacking each other? Or are people thinking that stars are literally having wars above our head? These dots in the skies are fighting with each other. Is that what people think when they hear Star Wars, that stars are attacking each other? That's kind of weird. So then we go back to my term, Fetish Babies. Okay, so let's find out what baby means. It does mean an extremely young child. That is one of them, especially an infant or an animal or the youngest of a group or the baby of the family. It's also in behavior when it comes to getting shots. I'm a real baby's example. Something that one's special responsibility, achievement, or interest, the project was his baby. Okay, so baby doesn't mean infant. Now, I understand if I called it fetish infant, why people could have an upsetting amount of alarm. That would make sense. It's not the name I went for. I said fetish baby. Now, I mean, let's just be honest. No one went to go see Baby Driver and expected to see a baby driving. Although that could have been a cool movie, don't get me wrong. I could have probably watched a movie about a getaway driver that was actually a baby. But that's not what it was, and everyone was okay with it. No one got all bent out of shape. So clearly, circling back, when we go back to Fetish Babies, this becomes about the fact that it's combined with the word fetish. Okay, so we can't, so what you're saying is that putting babies next to something sexual is bad. Okay, so then no human being has ever called another human being that they're having sex with baby. Or no human being who's been sexually attracted to someone and flirting with them has called them baby, right? Because that would be wrong, right? If we use baby in a sexual connotation. Yet, most adults call, well, not most, I won't say most because I won't say it's necessarily true, but it's very common knowledge that people do call each other baby when it's meant in a romantic context or meant in a sexual way. You know, from Offspring's song where they go, "Give it to me, baby." So that kind of defeats the purpose again of saying that babies is this word which we only talk about little human beings, which again, part of the definition is very small. So it's a very small human is a baby. So it has to come back to the fact that it's being mixed with fetish. Now, to get out of the way of everything that everyone has ever said, no, there is nothing about babies in this. It's ridiculous that there would be. The term is meant as an insult. It is meant as a inside joke between a character and another character that we haven't met yet in the story, nor will meet anytime we'll meet towards the end of the story. But it's what they call newbies. I said I'd give you some information about it, and here it goes. And anyone who's hasn't read Fetish Babies, now is the time to stop watching, because this is kind of a giveaway from it, but it's literally on the back page of, and I'll read it to you word for word, because we had to add this in because we were getting a little bit of static. And hold on, I got to grab my book copy. Just listen to the video. I'll be right back. Sorry, I thought I had it in front of me, but it's actually in the other room.
What happened?
Sometimes surviving feels worse. I knew I was never in danger of dying, but I was in danger of having to live through those memories over and over again for years to come. A moment in time that I feared had stolen away my beloved fetishes.
What happened? Who is Bruce?
All right, guys, I am back. So now I'm going to read to you one of the last pages of Fetish Babies 1. For those who read it, they've seen this. There's a shot of a gentleman naming who is Bruce, and then there's all these fantastic words, which becomes a sneak preview. We put this in because some of the people who read it in the test group felt it was very intense, and some were worried that the main character would die, which was kind of funny to me considering she's writing the blog. But, you know, you never know in comic books. Maybe she was writing from the death or something like that. So, and we just didn't want the wrong impression. We wanted you to know she survived and moved on. And we also wanted to explain the name, which seemed to have been getting the wrong attention in the way that people instantly read something and assumed something. You know, like when you hear Star Wars and you're expecting Celebrity Deathmatch, that kind of reasoning. Or when you hear Baby Driver and you're disappointed to find out that there is not an actual baby driving. For those people, what we did is we added this into the back of it. And what it says is this, issue number 2, page 2, which we switched the paging around. This was an earlier draft of the script, so it's been changed a little bit, but the basic idea is going to be the same. Bruce says, "That's enough." Male in the couple, "This is none of your fucking business. You'd better fuck off now." Now, you've had to have read the book to understand what any of this is. I'm sorry if you didn't. Bruce punches the guy in the face, and a DM enters the room and runs over. Issue number 2, page 5 of Fetish Babies 2. Bruce says mockingly to me, "Let me explain something to you, you fetish baby. You just don't get it. This isn't a Wonderland. It's not a fucking game. There are rules you need to know and knowledge you need to obtain to be able to play safe. This isn't something you try for fun one random weekend to make your boring sorority life more interesting. This shit can kill you and leave scars both emotionally and physically. This isn't a joke. And it can't be taken lightly, and you cannot expect the world to protect you." Issue 2, page 24 of Fetish Babies 2, Barbara said, "I'm not looking to be saved. I'm looking to be taught." So this is from the original script. It even has some punctuation issues. It wasn't edited. I wanted to show these were literally taken from my original script notes. This is what it was based on because I originally wrote Fetish Babies as a 2-parter. That was the first way I had envisioned it, and then I wrote it as a novel and wrote the whole story. So I know where the story goes throughout this whole first series, and I know where it goes. So there's a clear definition and reason why Fetish Baby was so important, because he wanted to say something that was insulting but true. I could have used newbie, or noob, but it like fetish noob, but I don't think the character would have felt that that was a dig enough. And when the character Bruce tells Barbara about how he feels, he means it to be something that's an insult. He wants it to kind of scare her and hurt her. And now he's having his own problems. Don't get me wrong. Bruce is this whole character that we're only going to start to see in issue number 2. And he really is a great character, and a lot is going on with Bruce too. Bruce is another vehicle for us to talk about how a dominant can see things go wrong and how they're left to deal with things like that. Like there's a big backstory that will pay off for Bruce, and a lot more will be understanding about how the character comes across from the beginning to the end. And one of my jobs was to start the story for you disliking Bruce. And I really wanted you to dislike him, and then my job is to make you like him. And then when you understand what he's been going through, I want you to be upset at yourself for ever doubting Bruce. So that was kind of my goal as a creator, so to speak. So all of this plays deeply into the term Fetish Babies, including a bigger moment at the end where the name gets used again directly in the story, which then is important. And I won't say anything more about that. But the name itself was important. And we went back and forth. And I had a good friend of mine. Timing wasn't on our side when this happened. There happened to be a creator who was found in possession of things he shouldn't have had. And no reasonable human being should have even taken the pictures. And instantly it put a fucking an X on our back. And it made us look fucking insensitive. Didn't matter that this had been planned for years. Didn't matter that we'd been promoting it for years. One thing changed everything. And it put us on our heels where we had to defend a name that made sense because people would jump to the conclusion. But I'll tell you, everyone who I've ever explained the name to, they get it instantly. It's like, okay, that makes a lot of sense, actually. I get that. So I don't mind the uphill battle explaining the name. I kid about the baby driver and the Star Wars because those are always my go-to examples, because I wanted really to explain that as writers and as even humans, we make words up. And those words don't always stay true to what they are. I mean, one day we'll have a 2-hour conversation on what BDSM means nowadays to all the different people in the world. But that's what we do as humans. We use words, especially in the English language, to mimic other things. Star Wars, everyone got that it wasn't just about, once again, stars fighting each other. Baby Driver is not, in fact, about a baby driving. We all get that. So why would Fetish Babies ever have anything to do with that? Now, what is upsetting to me about a lot of people who make this quick assessment is they literally read the title. And instead of being like, well, I don't understand the title, let me be someone who, at least looks into it before I comment. Because anyone who looks into it will see that we basically very quickly in the second one, it's a little further down, but it's still there. This story is dedicated to fetishes, about the misconceptions. But I don't see in this one where we talk about it not being about babies. I don't think I put it in this one because this is the follow-up. But in our very first one, we clearly said to the world, this has nothing to do with freaking babies. It's somewhere in there, and it's very upsetting. It really is upsetting that the name was twisted into something that it didn't have to be. And we've had to struggle with that. But as a creator, it's my job, I guess, to challenge things at times. And I guess this is one of those things I didn't want to challenge, but I'm okay challenging the idea of it, because sometimes a conversation leads to a bigger conversation. So Fetish Babies went on to fund the first one. We're close to funding on the second one. By the time we get people to finally come around to accept the name Fetish Babies, the story will have naturally turned into something else. There is a planned continued story beyond Fetish Babies, which has been announced. There's only a 4-part miniseries. There is in Britain, what they do is they name each series, like season, a series. Like Doctor Who has series, so they don't refer to them as seasons. So that's how I look at Fetish Babies. This is our first series. When we come back, probably late 2018, if everything works the way I'd like it to, there'll be an entirely different name that will take the character Barbara and just transplant her. So the name itself has relevance to a point. And after that point, the relevance begins to change. It's pretty self-explanatory what that should be. I'll give you guys an insight because you're watching the videos. And, you know, cool, you guys want to watch and you support me. I'm going to give you something that a lot of people don't know. The reason there's a change is this, and it's quite simple. It cannot stay the same title if the character's maturity bounces above what would be considered baby level, like a beginner level, which is exactly what the term is. So eventually Barbara's going to get to a point where she would no longer be a fetish baby. Doesn't mean she won't get herself in trouble. It doesn't mean that there won't be shit to happen because of it. It just means that she no longer thinks of herself as a fetish baby. And we'll have to see what happens when she no longer does it. So just to quickly recap, the name Fetish Babies has to do with fetish, but not babies. Babies is a reference to maturity, more of a mental versus a physical trait. When someone's acting in like wild and out of control, we call them sometimes you're acting like a baby. Ta-da! Words can have different meanings. And I don't mean to sound like I'm talking down to anyone. I'm not. I'm just making sure that I'm clear. So, you know, it might sound a little tongue-in-cheek, might sound a little sarcastic. I've tried this speech a lot with people. I've gone out of my way to explain it, so I apologize if it sounds like I'm pandering at all. I just want to make sure we get this clear because I'm so sick of and it's very few people, but I'm still sick of them not bothering reading anything and accusing me of something that I personally find disgusting and I'd never be for. And I hate the fact that people would even try to make it sound like I'm anywhere near that. So, Fetish Babies is about people with fetishes that don't have a maturity level. It is a website to educate people. That is what Fetish Babies is in this comic book. And eventually we will actually try to make Fetish Babies more of a learning center as the comic book grows. That's always been part of the process. Fetish Babies will remain a site that hopefully can give information to people entering beyond the comic book. We want to be able to share articles and such. So that's the long-term goal. So again, Fetish Babies is about fetish and people's maturity and their level within understanding what to do in the fetish community or just how to use fetish properly. Just like Star Wars isn't about stars fighting in the sky, nor is it about celebrity death matches. Or Baby Driver is about a baby driving. Fetish Babies is more than it instantly sounds, but the words still reign true as we went through the definition today. I mean, as writers, we do. We write something. You write it, and then you don't really always necessarily know the consequences. I mean, To Kill a Mockingbird, did they kill a mockingbird? Actually, I think in that one they might have actually killed a mockingbird. That one I might be wrong about, but you get what I'm saying. The analogy still stands. That sometimes we take words too literal, and we want them to be literal. And we want it to be something it's not. And I just wanted to clarify that. And I wanted to get it on record, and I wanted to get out of the way. So when we get to Fetish Babies 3, people understand this is just about Fetish Babies. This is a story, and it's, you know, not every story is as simple as it looks to you to summarize it. And I know that there's going to be hate about fetish, and people don't understand things. They villainize them. I understand that. And I'm not even asking everyone to get into fetish. This is not a campaign to turn everyone into fetish. I just want people to understand what it is to have a fetish. And the philosophy behind the story is obviously us trying to change the mainstream's view of what fetish is. And it's not cheap and it's not dirty. I mean, can it be sexual? Yes, but it's so much more than sexuality. It's so much more empowering. And it's different to every person. My wife had asked me how I would describe, why I would describe missing a fetish club and going to fetish clubs. And we had two very different answers, which isn't surprising. To everyone, it's something different. To me, I consider it an electrifying dance with two people, and when they connect, they almost become one. It's like a symbiotic relationship where there is enjoyment. I wouldn't necessarily always call it pleasure because, again, BDSM bondage doesn't always isn't always sexual for a person. There are people who are into BDSM bondage and other fetishes that aren't sexual. They're not sexual in nature at all, as a matter of fact. So there are some people who just enjoy it. There's like a runner's high that goes with it. It's called subspace. There's so many different topics I could go over with you guys. So it's a lot more than most people think it is, and that's my job, is to bring you on this journey. And so far, I'm very proud of what we've been doing. I don't think the so far is going to go away. But I just wanted to touch base because I'd seen something today about it, and I just wanted to hammer it home that people need to stop doing it. You know, the dyslexic baby fetish, it is not. There's nothing good about something that would have anything to do with children, especially grossly young. I mean, we live in a country where we can't make up a decision over what the proper age is for someone to be able to consent to having sex. Every state's different. But I don't think anyone can debate that children, and especially infants and babies, need to be protected from animals that would do something like that to them. So I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware that this has nothing to do with that. It couldn't be further from the truth. And it's sad that we live in times like that. Like, I can't even blame anyone. I'm not gonna say that people are wrong for when they're hearing the name thinking that, because that does get unfortunately, it's something that goes around in our society. It's ugly and it's there. I would just ask people to look a little further before making assessments. And you know, like, to someone to make a comic book like that publicly, you would have to think that there's going to be someone who would shut that down if it was what people are assuming. So obviously it really wouldn't be that. So there has to be more to it. And that's the point. I even got someone that I was showing something today about how a schoolgirl outfit is the schoolgirl outfit from Chris Madd. Is it here? Yeah, see the schoolgirl outfit the barber wears? I got told today that that's disturbing that we did that. And it was like, dude, really? Like, you're going to talk about that? Like, I mean, do you not know what schoolgirl outfits, how popular those actually are for adults and women to wear them, to kind of be playful, whether it's Halloween or going to clubs? There are literally nights at nightclubs where girls dress up as schoolgirls that are no longer in school. Not to mention for the gentlemen who go to stripper clubs. I'm not a fan of stripper clubs. I respect strippers. I don't know about love. Love is a big word for that. But I respect strippers for having the hustle and making the money. But I just don't understand paying someone to take their clothes off. Just not me. Sorry. It's not enjoyable to me. That's something I think you should earn. You know, I don't think it's something you should buy. I don't think sexuality is for sale. But that's another topic in itself that I'm going to go off on a rant. End of the day, I just wanted to share that with you. I wanted everyone to know who hasn't read the book that Fetish Babies has nothing to do with babies. Anyone who has read the book has clearly understood the big difference. And I think the hundreds of people who have read it at this point are very proud to be able to say that hundreds of people have read the book. And we have gotten we've gotten some great reviews recently. We've gotten so much wonderful feedback. We've gotten emails thanking us. It's been a wild ride. I think people get it. And I think that one day people are going to look back and go, yeah, you know, I remember when people thought of it in a certain way that it's not. But I didn't see any questions in any of the chat rooms that were going on. At least I don't think there are any. I'm looking right now. I don't think so. I'm not seeing any questions, which is okay. That's all good. We don't actually need any questions. We can just take off now. I know everyone's excited to see TLC. It's on tonight. Kurt Angle returns because Roman is out sick, along with Wade Bryant, who we now get AJ and the Bullet Club's Finn Balor fighting, which is crazy. So I'm gonna let everyone go. Thank you for tuning in, and I'm done ranting about the name. All right, YouTube. Good night.